The EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra X is the largest power station on the market. It's also the one that EcoFlow puts the most marketing dollars behind, hence all of the sponsored videos. If you watch a YouTube video review and it's all sunshine and rainbows, I'd be cautious to make sure you're actually getting the truth about the product. In saying it, this brand new unit makes the original Delta Pro Ultra look like a toy, at least on paper. In reality though, the original one might still be the better buy. So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. If you're familiar with the original Delta Pro Ultra, then you can probably tell just from a glance that the only real differences with this new X version is the input and output are a bit bigger. You lose a couple of your 120 volt plugs, you lose all of your USBs, and this thing has some fancy lights on the front. And that looks like it's pretty much all that's different. There's obviously a lot more though, and to be honest, it was a lot more than we actually thought would be different. As always, we will leave links in the description down below to this new unit, as well as any discount codes that we can get to help save you guys any money where possible. We also have our power station quiz. It's a 30-second quiz, spits you out an instant recommendation based on your needs if you're not entirely sure what unit you need. But before we jump into our experience testing this here at the lab for the last couple months, everything that we really like about the new X version and all the things that honestly kind of let us down, we're going to hit you with a super quick spec teardown to get you up to speed if you're not already familiar with this big new power station. Big! So first up, this thing barely passes the tiny baby lift test. Just like the original Delta Pro Ultra, the inverter and the batteries are separate units. The inverter weighs about 70 pounds and each battery is 111. So you can pick them up and move them around, although you're probably not going to want to. Each battery is 6,144 watt hours, and you can stack up to 10 of these batteries underneath a single inverter. You can also pair up to 3 inverters together to get you a total system size of 184 kilowatt hours, which is insane. Each inverter now has a 12 kilowatt output, which means you get a true 50 amp plug off the front, and it's almost double what the original Delta Pro Ultra was. With the red adapters, you can charge this thing at up to 12 kilowatts, which means you could charge 2 batteries in an hour, and it has a 10 kilowatt solar input, which is also really high. In terms of plugs and ports on this guy, you now only have 220 volt house plugs. You have your twist lock L14 generator connection, and you have a 50 amp plug right here. This is a true 50 amp. I think it's the first time ever in history that we've had a power station with a true 50 amp on it. On the side here, you have your AC in out port. That's where you put all of your adapters to charge with a car charger or to connect it to a generator. Then you have your battery expansion ports on the side. And if you come around to the back, you actually have your solar inputs. There's 2 sets of MC4 connectors here. You actually need the entire solar isolator box that comes with the unit installed before those plugs, so there is a little bit extra. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple unit. They've removed a lot of just the little plugs that the old Delta Pro Ultra had. Super clean. The screen is really nice. It's a bit updated. It actually is very clear, very bright, and easy to read. Because it's on this angle, it's actually really helpful that the screen is super bright. We now have this light, which is kind of gimmicky, but it at the same time is actually kind of useful. It shows you right now our battery's at 99%. You can see it's full. As the battery goes down, the light actually gets narrower towards the middle. And if your battery is going to die or if you're outputting, there's different colors and different modes and different things that the lights do to communicate what's actually going on with the unit, which is nice. In terms of the rest of the build, it has the heat sinks, so it's super quiet, not loud fans, same handles, comes with a cart, so it's easy to wheel it around. It works with EcoFlow's app. It's fine. It doesn't do anything actually super impressive. You would think it would for the price and size of a unit like this, but it allows you to turn things on and off from a distance. It allows you to set up things like peak shaving, so you can schedule tasks and do stuff like that. It's pretty useful. And right now, at the time of our filming, with our discount code, you can get this Delta Pro Ultra X with 2 batteries, which is the requirement. We just have it on 1 because 2 is way too big for the table, for $7,699. This is not a cheap power station. Jumping into the things that we like about this new X version, starting with the small things, this solar flap is fixed. The original Delta Pro Ultra, it was behind this little trap door and you could barely get your tool in there to take your MC4 connections on and off. It was very annoying. On this one, they've put a secondary door, so you can easily pop off that secondary door, disconnect your wires, you're good to go. They made it way better, and we really appreciate them listening to feedback and doing that. The lights, while gimmicky, I did mention it earlier that they do travel When you turn on things like your input, they do a little bit of a dance, and when you're outputting power, they kind of run along like this. As the battery gets lower, the brick in the middle gets smaller and smaller. When it's dying, it goes red. When you have a problem, it goes yellow. It's helpful. And like I said, the screen is very clear and digestible. The older unit, because of this angle, it was always hard to see. This one's way brighter and way more clear, and we really like that. Another thing we really like is that this inverter is almost double the size of the original one, but the idle consumption is significantly lower. This thing's only about 36 watts of idle consumption, which is amazing considering it's a 12 kilowatt inverter. We have like 3,000 watt inverters that idle higher than this. So that's a really, really good move. It means you can just let this thing sit there and idle if it's running loads that are intermittently coming on for so long before it'll actually die. Like, what's the actual math on that? 2 batteries is a minimum.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So if you just turned on your AC inverter like this and you had nothing plugged into it, so you had a sump pump and it was coming on every once in a while, this thing would last 2 weeks before it needed to be charged, which is great. The solar input as a whole is also super nice on this unit. It has a 10 kilowatt solar input, which means you're getting into some pretty serious territory. This is no longer like set up a few panels at your campsite and charge your power station land. This is like full ground mount in the backyard running into this. And what they do is they give you an isolator box that is separate from the unit, which we do think is pretty cool. It's a much safer way to be able to manage your solar, and then you're able to have everything kind of permanently mounted because a 10 kilowatt array is going to be permanent. So you're going to have that all permanently mounted, wired in, your leads coming down that go to the unit, and you can easily just disconnect them, wheel the unit away if you want to take it with you or whatever. But you don't have just like kind of wires flopping everywhere with the disconnect built in. It makes sense. We do like it, and it is nice that they're going in the route of a traditional kit because it's a pretty serious number. A side note on that is that if you're going to get a 10 kilowatt array, don't buy EcoFlow panels. I'm sure most of you have found that out just by doing research, but EcoFlow panels are insanely expensive. Go to something like Signature Solar. You can get a whole pallet of panels for like, they're like $180 for a bifacial 415 watt panel. You can get a whole pallet of those and run them into this for like a fraction of the price of EcoFlow panels. It's also nice that for the first time ever, you get a massive system in one bundle. Up until this point in time, if you wanted a big, like, capable of powering your house type system, you always needed double of whatever. Even the original Delta Pro Ultra, you needed 2 of them running into the 50 amp hub. And this is similar for most things. Anker F3800, all these products, you need 2 of them to combine to get one big inverter. Somehow they doubled what's inside of this casing without making it any bigger. And we really appreciate that because that is a huge upgrade, and it allows you to have one system cleanly stacked that can power your home instead of a mess with adapters and wires and all that kind of stuff. And in saying that, if you wanted to make it even cleaner, EcoFlow does have a new smart home panel. So they're on the smart home panel 3 now, which ties these units into your home in a much more seamless way. You just plug this into the panel and you have a ton of stuff you can do through the app on the panel. It will allow you to access more of the features on this thing and just make your whole setup even cleaner if that's the route you wanted to go, instead of just going to a traditional transfer switch, which will work just as fine if you already have something like that set up or if that's what you were already thinking. We also really like this giant battery expansion cord that this unit comes with. Basically, you need 2 expansion batteries in order to run this properly. And so most batteries can just connect with this. It just reaches from one to the other. But obviously needing 2 at the same time means that the second one is going to be further away. But what's nice about this long cable is that you don't have to run them all on top of each other. With the Delta Pro Ultra original one, you had to stack all your batteries under the inverter. And then if you wanted a second stack, you needed a second inverter that you could tie together. With this, you could have a bunch of batteries run underneath. Then you could have a second stack of batteries tied in just with a cable like sitting beside it, and a whole other stack right here without an inverter. So you don't need it to go so high if you don't have the room or if you find it risky or whatever, which is actually really nice. And the last thing that we like about this new X is that EcoFlow has released a generator rectifier, which is basically like EG4's chargeverter. So you can pretty much plug a generator into it. It converts the power to clean DC power, and then you can charge the unit with that. That's nice because a lot of generators put out sketchy power and you can harm things if you're running a generator at full tilt into a power station like this. So the fact that they've made that is going to help the longevity of probably all their EcoFlow products, assuming it works with more than just this. And then that's cool that they're actually thinking about these things as their systems get to be the size of a traditional kit. This new X version is not perfect though, and starting with a couple super quick things, they're kind of fluffy, but they're still important that we don't like about this power station. One of them is the screen doesn't have an always on mode, which is annoying, especially if you're using it, testing it, trying to figure stuff out. The longest you can set it to stay on is like 30 minutes, so you continuously have to go over, press the button to get it to wake up. Tiny thing, but it's annoying. They also switched the power cord to a proprietary plug, so now you need to buy the one with the big AC attachment, even just to charge it off 120 volts. That's annoying because every other power station that we have basically takes a generic cord, so if you lost this, you could get one on Amazon for like 20 bucks. This, you have to get it from EcoFlow. It's gonna be expensive. And the last little thing is like, there's no USBs left. They took away all the USB-C and USB-A options, which I get because this is built for home backup. It's meant to kind of set it and forget it. But here at the lab, we actually use the Anker F3800 to back up our office. And it's just sitting there permanently installed, but we frequently walk up and charge our phones off the USBs and charge other little devices with those USBs. So if you had this in a place where you were gonna actually be able to access it, it is frustrating that you have to use a 120 volt plug and waste that power converting it. 3 little things, but I think they still matter. A couple of the other things we don't like is that you cannot achieve your full output with one battery. Right now, we actually have this plugged into a second one on the floor to avoid the warning light on the screen, but this is the first power station ever that is similar to a traditional solar kit in the sense that if you don't have multiple batteries, you can't get the full output. So with the original Delta Pro Ultra, it had a 7,000 watt inverter. You could run that off of one 6,000 watt hour battery. This, you can only get 6,000 watts of output with one battery. You need 2 to get the full 12. We also noticed in our testing that when you're running the 50 amp or the generator plug into a transfer switch, your loads on that sub panel that you're running to have to be very well balanced. This thing does not like to balance loads on its own. If you have a traditional solar kit, which this compares to the most, being that it's a massive inverter, usually if you have like a 12,000 watt output, it's 2 lines of 6,000 watts. But you can run like 7 or 8,000 on one line and have the other one a little bit less if your loads aren't perfectly balanced. With this, if you're over even a little bit, like you have 6,500 on one, the whole inverter trips and shuts off and you have to start everything again, which is extremely frustrating. And something that we actually mentioned earlier with that PV isolator switch, well, it is cool because it makes it more of a legit setup. Something that actually Ben from Minuteman Solar mentioned in his video was that the switch doesn't come wired, which is very weird because traditionally people buy a power station instead of a traditional solar kit because they want simplicity. They want to be able to set it up easy, quickly, and walk away from it. So the fact that you have to take that, buy MC4 connectors, buy wire crimpers, buy all these tools and wires to actually wire the switch up yourself is weird. The fact that they have wires coming off one end, but nothing coming off the top to plug into your array, it's a simple thing, but it's going to push some people outside of their comfort zone where they could just take this, plug a pre-wired panel set into it and be done. But now they're uncomfortable because they don't want to do the wiring themselves. They don't have the tools. They don't have the connections. It's just a weird thing that they've done with that switch. And to close off what we don't like, there was a couple performance issues that were things we thought were worth noting. If you're charging with this EV car charger, whatever, you can put 240 volts into this to charge up your Delta Pro Ultra X. You cannot also run the output. So there's no UPS when you're using this cable, which is weird and also could screw up someone's entire setup if you were planning to put power into this with your existing car charger. You cannot also run the inverter. Very strange. You must use one of the generator plugs. If you literally just plug this in, plug it into a generator or an AC outlet, you can put power into this while outputting power at the same time. We found that to be kind of strange and a bit of a nuisance. And tying into that point, you can change the AC charge speed on this unit. So you can go in there and say, this is plugged into a wall outlet that only allows 6,000 watts. You can say, hey, don't pull more than 6,000 watts. I don't want to trip the breaker. And it will do that. But when you start using it in UPS mode, this unit adds the load to what you have it set to. Basically meaning, what we were doing at least, was we had this set to 4,000 watts as to not trip our generator. As soon as you start running a load, say 3,600 watts, it adds the 3,600 to the 4,000, and now it's trying to pull over 7,000 watts from the generator, and then it trips the generator and the generator shuts off. or it would blow the breaker if you had it plugged into a wall outlet and it would shut off. Very annoying because your output may fluctuate, but you have to account for it when you're setting your charge speed. These are things they can solve with updates, but they should do them because it's kind of problematic. For us to be able to run our full load on this, we had to turn the charge speed down to 1,000 watts, because once it adds our load to the 1,000 watts, it was around the 4,000 watt range of the generator. But then when you're done running your loads, you're only charging at 1,000 watts. Very weird thing. It should be a software update. We've talked to EcoFlow about it and told them that they need to fix this, hopefully sooner than later, before a bunch of you guys run into the same problem. So hopefully they listen to us and take care of that problem. And the last performance thing was we found it surges really well, up to 16 kilowatts in our testing, but it's very inconsistent. One day you'll be running a very low load and you can't surge the compressor on. And the next day you can run double that load and you can surge to turn the compressor on. It's very weird. It's not reliably consistent. It's actually a problem that the original Delta Pro Ultra also had. So again, just little performance things, but if you're really gonna push this, you're gonna notice. So who is this power station for? This is for someone who wants a full home backup kit. If you're looking to power your house when the storm comes through, or the power goes out, or whatever it is, this is a great option if you don't want it to be permanent. The thing with the traditional solar kit is that once it's mounted, it's mounted. You're not taking that with you. What's nice about this is that you could use it for home backup. And if you want to throw it in your RV or bring it to your cabin or do whatever with it, you can easily disconnect your solar, load each piece into your truck, drive it wherever you're going, put it in your RV, whatever it is, use it and then bring it back home. So it gives you that expandability of not just being a home backup kit. And while it is expensive, you could peak shave with this to help offset kind of the cost of buying it in the first place. You could also just get the Delta Pro Ultra if you don't need all of this. The Delta Pro Ultra original one is still a very good unit, still works really well. And if you don't need all of this in one thing, you could still just go ahead and buy the Delta Pro Ultra, save a little bit of money and get an awesome product. So I think both are great, but if you want everything a little bit cleaner and a little bit newer and a little more powerful, at least with just one unit, this is a pretty good option. That's all we got for you guys today. We will leave links in the description down below, as well as any coupons to save you guys some money on this if you're interested. Otherwise, make sure you guys are subscribed if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.